It's time for a story. My grandkids love my stories, and I think it's because they live in a generation where y'all just really ain't making any stories. You're too busy playing on your video games or sitting indoors in air conditioning. But back in the day, which was a long time ago, we didn't have much to do but ride bikes. And that gets old, so we do all kinds of weird things, like we cut the forks off of an old bike and we bolt them onto the front of our forks, and we'd have choppers. So some of us were riding around in choppers. But one of the best things we used to do was build ramps. Now, I hate that this generation really doesn't know much about that, but we had it really cool. We had this giant hill outside of our house, and we had to do this on a sidewalk because, of course, you ain't gonna be able to do this in the street. You're gonna get run over. So we had a nice sidewalk, this giant hill, and we built a ramp at the bottom of this hill, and man, we tore that thing up. We had a blast. And so that was a regular thing for us, building ramps. We'd come up with all kinds of, different variations of a ramp, because Evel Knievel was everybody's hero back then. Now, that's kind of strange because he's broken every bone in his body and half killed himself. We don't know how many times, but hey, we all wanted to be Evel Knievel. So we built these ramps, and this is a true story, y'all. True story. You can't make this stuff up. So we're getting altitude. We're getting height on these ramps, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we decide we are flying too high in the air and landing too hard now. So us rocket scientists, being the intelligentsia that we were, we decided to build a receiving ramp like Evel Knievel. So we built us a receiving ramp, and all of us mathematicians, we put it together on how far that thing needed to be and how high it needed to be, and man, we were excited because now we could build bigger ramps, because now we got a receiving ramp. So maybe we'll get to the point where we can jump each other with these bikes. We have 6 or 7 of them lined up and just barely clear their heads. That was kind of our end game here. So we build this receiving ramp, and the first guy goes, and man, he's hitting it for everything he has. And he flies off that ramp, and he hits that receiving ramp at about midway on his bike. You can picture what happened. He's somersaulting through the air. His bike's going one way, he's going the other way. He's sliding down that concrete. This guy's got some road rash like we ain't never seen before. But man, we're all hooting and hollering. He's hooting and hollering because there's blood and there's broken stuff. And that was awesome, man. That was awesome. So we decide, okay, what do we do about this? So rather than bring the receiving ramp a little bit closer, we decided we needed more altitude. So we go get a sawhorse. Now we've got a piece of plywood, and now we've got a sawhorse. So put this in your mind and picture it. And we are gonna fly down this hill, jump this sawhorse, and we're gonna hit that receiving ramp right. So the next guy comes up, because the first guy ain't in condition to do it again for a while. Next guy comes up. He's flying down that hill, and he hits that plywood, and it bows in the middle and tips the sawhorse over. So instead of jumping in the air, he just runs right square into the receiving ramp and does the same thing, except this time his bike stayed back there, and he's flying through the air. So he's rubbing himself and cleaning himself off, and oh man, and we're rolling on the ground. It's like, man, we are awesome, dudes. We are awesome. So what do we need to do about this? Well, again, rather than put the ramp back at a sensible height and move the receiving ramp closer, we decided that piece of plywood needed a support in the middle so that it wouldn't bow when we hit it. Man, that was amazing. We're just proud of ourselves being these guys coming up with this stuff, We're daredevils. Well, it was my turn next. And I get to the top of that hill, and I'm flying down that hill, and I see them guys, and they're all hurting. They're all hurting. We're having fun, but they're hurting. And I just kept picturing what happened to that dude, and I slammed on my brakes at the last minute. I go up that plywood with just enough speed that I fall right off the end, face first, into the sidewalk, and that really happened. So, now I'm the chicken. I'm the one that chickened out at the last minute. Now that I'm older, I think I was the one that had the most sense out of all of us. So that's what that was. So anyhow, one more left, and he's going to conquer this thing. And he had a chopper. And that would be so cool to watch that happen. And he really was the one that strove to be the coolest out of all of us. It was his passion in life to be the coolest out of all of us. That's why he had a chopper. So it's his turn. Everything's still the same. We got all this figured out. It's all going to be okay, right? He gets up there, comes flying down this hill, flies off the end of that piece of plywood, and his chopper forks came off. So you can picture what happened next. He hits that receiving ramp perfect with two pointed forks sticking down on the ground. It just went right into that plywood, and over he goes, and he messes himself up pretty good. As a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't think I ever watched him go off a ramp again. But after that day, we learned a lot. We learned that we don't get paid as well as Evel Knievel, and that mess hurts. So let's figure out a way to do this and have fun without killing ourselves, but still have fun. And that's what we did. So the moral of this story is, for all you parents that are letting your kids sit around the house watching TV and play on their phones, you are robbing them of the lessons in life that God has created that makes us into good adults, sensible adults, teaches us how to be parents, teaches us how to let our kids make mistakes and learn from those mistakes, and it teaches our kids how to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes. So I'm kind of on a mission right now, because everywhere I go, man, I go to Cedar Point, I go to Six Flags, I go to Universal Studios, and what do I see? Everybody sitting around on their phones. Now listen, y'all, I don't even have a Facebook page. I'm doing these videos because I feel like the world needs a hand, and I feel like I got one to give it, and that's thanks to the Lord Jesus Christ and the differences He's made in my life. But I've raised 9 kids, 4 my own and 5 adopted, and we didn't have that going on. The video game system was locked up, and it was only allowed out after you earned some time on it, and you didn't get a whole lot of time on it because there was stuff to do, and you needed to be outside playing. So let's make crash dummies out of our kids, because you know what's cool about a crash dummy is that they can just keep crashing and crashing and crashing and getting right up and doing it all again. And that's why God made kids, so they bounce. So let them run with scissors, let them jump ramps, let them stub their toe, let them skin their elbows, let them do what they need to do, because that's how they learn to think before they do. Have you ever seen such a generation with so much impulse control problems? So let's have a moratorium on kids sitting on electronics and sitting in their house, and put them guys out there in the summer heat, riding their bikes, playing football, playing wiffle ball, having a good time, and doing what they need to be doing. How about that?